This week, we're going to continue our conversation about missed opportunities, about money that's left on the table. Billy Grisack is here with me again. He is the king of booking and venues. Billy, we're going to share some awesome stuff today, right?
Yeah, hey, Bob, there's a 20 over here on this table. Is this yours? There's just some money over here.
Is this yours? Did I accidentally leave it on the table?
No, I'll just take it. It's fine. I'll take it. That's fine, yeah.
That's a great example. There's something I could have done to hang on to that $20 and maybe even turn it into $40 or $60 or $100, right? That's what we're going to cover. Missed opportunities, money you're leaving on the table like I just did. You're listening to the Music Marketing Podcast. You like the way I did that? Podcast.
I love it. It's so professional.
And so let's talk about booking, about venues. Like we talked about some more general missed opportunities in the previous episode. So I guess you are implying, and you suggested this topic, and you have a lot more hands-on experience in this particular realm than I do, because you're gigging, especially in the summer, man. You and your son Will are just out there gigging almost every day, it seems.
We're out there 6-7 days a week, sometimes doing up to 3 shows at 3 different locations a day.
Damn, man. That is a lot. And so these bookings just don't come to you. They just don't materialize. You have to go out and work for them. And so I bet you there are things that you're doing to book these shows and probably to earn a certain amount of money per gig that other artists who are maybe less experienced or less savvy are not doing. Is that a fair way to summarize the concept here?
Yeah, I think so. I think it comes with experience, and you learn a few things along the way, and I'm happy to share some of the tools in my toolbox here.
So let's start off. What's one way that bands kind of miss opportunities when it comes to booking gigs?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is when somebody calls you, or let's say you're lucky enough to have somebody contact you, whether it's by email or it's by phone or text or however you communicate these days through your Facebook, and they say, hey, are you available on this date? Now, Bob, let's just do a little role playing here, okay? We didn't plan this. We'll do a little role playing.
Okay.
So we'll do it as a phone call. Be like, hey, Bob, how you doing? This is Billy.
Hey, Billy. Fine. Wow, it's great. I'm surprised to hear from you.
Oh, no, man. I've been thinking about you guys for a long time. I was thinking about having Soul Massage product placement, by the way. That was very good. Soul Massage.
Very nice.
Yeah, I was thinking about having a product placement because Big and Tall can't make it that day, and we were wondering if we could have Soul Massage. No, in order for this to work, Bob, you have to tell me you're not available for the date, okay?
All right. Cool.
So hey, we'd like to have Soul Massage on August 25. You guys available?
August 25. Oh, man. God, I wish. Sorry. Yeah, we're just not available that date. No.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I'll see if Big and Tall's available. Thanks a bunch, Bob.
All right, bye.
Okay, so what went wrong there, and what could you have done? How did you leave money on the table?
I'm guessing that I could have offered an alternate date.
Ding, ding, ding. You win, Bob.
There we go. Wow. As opposed to trying to switch things around. And I'm assuming that I'm probably, the reason I couldn't do it is either because I had another gig already booked that I was obligated to, wanted to live, or some kind of a personal, going to a wedding, whatever. But it doesn't matter, I guess. But you don't want to just end it there. No, sorry, bye.
Yeah. Typically, the conversation would go a little bit more like this. Do you want to be the caller?
I'll be the caller, yes.
Okay,
hey, hi, Billy.
Hey, is this Bob?
This is Bob. Yeah,
Bob. Hey, Bob. How's your family doing?
The family's doing great. Thanks a lot. And my super awesome club. That's actually what we named it, of course.
Yeah, super awesome. I remember we had a great time. That's where I met Pookie.
Yeah,
and I think your daughter was going to come. Didn't we have dinner with your daughter afterwards?
Oh yeah! Wow, you have a great memory. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
that was
great time.
That was an awesome night. So speaking of Pookie and Bob, Soul Massage can't. I had this date booked. It's actually August 25th, and I had Soul Massage booked. They had to back out at the last minute. Sorry to say. I was wondering, is Big and Tall available that night?
Bob, you know what? We just literally, if you had called like a day, a half hour earlier. We booked it. I feel horrible. I really do. But I really want to come back. Do you have any other dates in August, or in September would work too? Do you have your calendar open? Could we take a look and see if you have some other dates there?
Yeah, I was kind of focused on August 25th, but since you mentioned it, sure, I'll look ahead. Actually, I got August 6th. I'm sorry,
Oh,
September 6th.
oh, good, because August is pretty much booked, but September sounds great. Sounds great. Yeah, would you like to do that date?
Well, what the heck? I got you on the phone here. I may as well just get it done. One less thing for me to worry about.
Fantastic. Okay, now we'll take it a step further, and I'm talking out of role playing here,
Okay.
and then I'll say, okay, great. By the way, the other date you were looking at, that was what, August 25th?
Yeah.
Now, do you have somebody else in mind? Because I know a couple of guys are touring that are heading up your way, and I can give them a call or have them call you if you like.
Oh, well, yeah, that would really help me out because I'm like swamped and I just don't have a whole lot of time to deal with this. So, yeah, if you could recommend someone, and I trust your opinion, you know the venue, so they gotta fit the atmosphere here,
No, totally, man. Let me just check. I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want them to waste your time. So I'll call a few friends that I know that can do the job, that are very much like Soul Massage or Big and Tall. Same, we can work the same crowd. I'll just make sure they're available first before they contact you, so they're not wasting your time. Okay?
That would be awesome, Billy. You're the best.
No, man, you're the best. Give love to the family. Okay?
I will do that.
Okay. See you later. Bye.
Wow, that was masterful. I felt like I was just being handled by a suave music booker. So explain. I kind of picked up on some things, but explain what you did there. Let's break it down.
Right. Well, the first thing, when the person called, I was extremely happy. I knew who they were. Whether I knew who they were or not, I was still really happy, and I knew who they were. As I'm rushing through my little notes I keep on all my venues and buyers to find out who their family members are and the last time we saw them and what their club looks like, I keep really detailed notes on that are highly searchable.
Wow.
So if people call me, I can jump in there and I can start calling people by names and stuff. But the main thing was I took over the conversation. I knew the date wasn't available when that happened, and I was prepared immediately to offer other dates. So I didn't get that person off the phone because I wanted them to remember how much they liked us, how they feel good talking to us, and remember the good times we had and how badly they want to have them back in their venue. And even though we couldn't fill the date that they wanted, I wanted to see if I could get them on the phone and see if they could maybe work out another date. And if they had said no, I probably would have said, well, listen, I'll follow up with an email and I'll just let you know what dates we have open in the future. That would have been my next step so that we could keep the conversation going. So that was step one. So step one was to control the conversation without being pushy or rude. I hope I wasn't that. Offer solutions to their problems. And if you notice, I went beyond my gig to keep offering solutions. So I'm positioning myself as somebody that can help them without asking for anything in return. Like I didn't say, yo, Bob, I'll send you a band, send me some commission money,
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was just there solving problems, making him feel good because obviously he's running a bar or nightclub, venue, concert hall, festival, very busy people. They don't have a lot of time. And that's also when I said, I'll make sure I pre-qualify the band I'm going to send you so that they're not wasting your time, you see? So every opportunity I had, I tried to turn it into making the buyer feel good about me and helping them with their problem. It was never really about how awesome I am. It was about what a great time we had with you. And we can't wait to see you again. And in their mind, they're going, boy, I love this guy. Boy, I love this. I don't have to tell them they love me. They've deciding it. So I was just trying to solve his problems.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I was joking when I said I was listening to a masterful suave, but no, that was really well done. And I kind of sensed that, but you clarified it more. So two takeaways for me is like be upbeat, be positive about them personally. And if you have those personal references about something that you shared the last time that you were there, that just keeps it upbeat. And then I love the problems because normally I think in the music world, you don't think of this problem solution kind of angle. That's kind of more common in business,
Everything is problem solution. And that's why you have really successful bands and artists and not so successful bands and artists, because I hate to say it, it is the music business. It's not the music hobby. You taught me that, and it's like you got to treat it like a business, right?
Yeah, and what a great juxtaposition, because I think a typical stance that a musician takes is, I have a problem, I'm not getting enough gigs, the solution is this guy's got to book me. And so it's like a different perspective as opposed to what's their problem and how can I provide the solution for you, be a problem solver. It's just a whole like a different shift in how you approach it.
Yeah, and I always tell people, too, Two things. One, if you ever need somebody, if it's local, especially, I'll say I'm right down the street. I live in Appleton. If you're in Appleton, Green Bay, you got a last minute problem, give me a call. If I can't do it, maybe I know somebody that can. And I always tell people I'm a resource, man. It doesn't cost you a dime to keep me in your database. It used to be, it doesn't cost a penny to keep me in your Rolodex. See, I'm old, in your Rolodex. But I mean, it doesn't cost you any money to keep my phone number and call me if you have a problem. If you need a PA for that night, I know guys have PAs. You need some lights, you need a band, you need an opening act. Give me a call. I don't mind helping you out, man. I love you. I love your place. And then who do you think you're going to call when they have a good gig that pays well,
And so that role-playing thing that we just did was a good scenario where you have an existing relationship with someone. You've already played the place, and so they're calling you. What about a scenario where there's not a previous relationship? Maybe I don't know if they generically reach out to you, or maybe what about when you're approaching them for the first time? Any tips there?
Yeah, I mean, for one, you got to be well prepared, be likable. Make sure you're talking to the right person. That's always the biggie, This is a form of leaving money on the table. Your time is your money, because every minute you spend doing something, you are technically, since somebody's not giving you a paycheck, I look at it this way, it works almost in reverse. It's almost like every hour I spend and I'm not getting a future reward for it, it goes into the negative column. Does that make sense? It's kind of how I look at it. So it's important to me, number one, if I'm going to reach out to someone, cold call or do a follow-up, that I'm talking to the right person. Here's a good one. So I'm going to try to contact, we're talking phones here. I do the same kind of things of email, pretty similar scenario. I don't have a real script, but loosely, let's say we do also libraries and daycare centers when we do children's shows, for instance. Okay. Libraries also do adult stuff. They do regular grown-up music, not just kids music. So it will work for this as well. But I would say I would contact, let's say, a library, and I'd say, hi, do you guys have entertainers play at your library? Why, yes, we do. And I say, who's the person responsible for that? And they would say, well, that's Susie. I say, is Susie there? And if she's there, great. They'll put her on the phone. If she's not, I'll ask for a voicemail. But before that, I will ask for her email address. And then I'll typically send an email to say, I called today and I left you a message, but this is what it's about, blah, blah, blah. See, the idea here is to always have people contact you, because check it out. Nobody likes to sell. Selling is not fun for most people. So whenever you're calling, I'm begging you to do something. I'm asking you for something. Whereas if you're calling me, guess what? Now you're calling me and you're asking me questions. I'm not asking you questions. The paradigm shifts, the whole shift, there's a power shift there. So whenever possible, always have people call you, and then you're in a position to answer questions and solve problems, not beg for something. You know what I mean? Now, here's one thing. If you're ever in a situation where you're going to be calling a place that's like a chain or a system, or they're connected, like some examples, for instance, if you're doing kids music, daycares, you're going to work kinder cares. There's like 43 kinder cares in Wisconsin where I live. There's like 60 of them in Minnesota. They're all over. They're all connected. It's one corporation, and they all use entertainers. Libraries are set up in systems. Each system is part of a bigger system like the state, and so they're all connected. Pottery barns are a chain. They're all connected. They have performers. There's certain types of coffee houses and other venues, House of Blues. These are all connected, Mm-hmm. So here's what you do. There's this thing I do, and this is leaving money on the table, missed opportunity. It's called surfing the leads. Have I ever talked about surfing the leads, Bob?
I do not remember that phrase.
So surfing the leads is I'm calling a library in the, let's say, the Nicolay system. And I call up, say, hi, I'd like to perform at your library. And I go through my spiel. And if I do my job right, they say, yes, I will book you. And I'll say, thank you very much. By the way, are there any other libraries in your system that I could contact? And they'll be like, well, I think Green Bay and Wrightstown are looking for performers. I'll say, that's great. What are the names of the people booking the bands there? They will usually give it to me. Most people would have stopped at that first phone call. But then what I do is then I go through and or email. I do this with email too. And then I'll go to the next one, and then I'll call up and I'll say, hi, Green Bay Library. I was just talking to Susie at Nicolay. She suggested I call you. See the importance of names and referrals. And she just booked me. She's really excited to have us. And she thought you would be excited to have us too.
Nice.
And then I do the same thing. I ask for 3 more referrals from her. That's called surfing the lead. So on the days when I know I'm going to be hitting like systems, chains, anything that's connected, some days I'll get on the phone at like 10 in the morning and I'm still there at 5 o'clock at night, just following that same chain from the beginning of the morning. You know what I mean? And that's why we get so many gigs. You know, we do that. But here's leaving money on the table. Get ready. Power tip.
I'm bracing myself. Here it is, folks.
Right.
Dun, dun, dun. The power tip is...
So when you call and you try to book and they say no, what happens?
Oh, you just walk away. Oh, I guess not meant to be.
Right. And that breaks the chain. I'm done for the day, right? Here's what I say. Okay, that's fine. By the way, hey, I'm sorry we couldn't help you this year, but do you know any other libraries that are booking and could I have their names?
Mm-hmm.
She said, no, I still ask for more referrals. So, and then I would call them and I'd say, oh, hi, Bob and Tom and John booked us today. Now, Susie gave your number. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to have us, but she recommended and suggested I call you. Bam, and then back on the road.
And this works for you, obviously, because you've been doing it for years, right?
My record is booking 29 gigs in one day.
29?
Yeah.
In one day?
In one day.
Wow. So there's another spin on that thing about, you were talking about, basically you having to justify the time that you put into things. And I remember years ago, I published a local music newspaper here in St. Louis, and it was a free publication, and so the way it generated revenue was from the display ads that appeared in it. Selling ads was not one of my favorite things to do, but it was something I just had to learn. It was a good experience for me. Definitely a different type of marketing. But I remember there was one point where I had this, I don't know if I read it in a book or just had this aha moment, that if you kind of track how many cold calls you have to make and generally how many sales you would get as a result, you could like break it down into numbers. So for every 10 calls I make, maybe I get one display ad. And let's say the average display ad was $500. So you could look at it as every call that I made or person I contacted, I was earning $50. So even though they were no's, and there were probably things that I was doing, leaving money on the table by not following up or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But that's another way to look at it. When you're disappointed, it's one no after another. But if you sort of break it down in that way, it's in time that you're investing that actually does pay back when you finally get the yes. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many ways that you can maximize the gig procuring experience and make it so much easier on yourself, because it's so much easier to rebook the same gigs and to work with the same people than it is to get a brand new person. Would you agree, Bob?
Yeah, and I was going to say, I was actually going to come back to that. Yeah, what money left on the table with existing clients or venues. Do you think people can play either more frequently, or they can maybe raise the amount of money that they're making at those gigs that they're successful? What thoughts do you have there?
Well, first of all, that's a really good question. Let me ask your opinion on something.
Sure.
Would you rather play a venue more frequently for the same or a little less money? Or would you rather play less often for more money?
Man, I guess it depends what the total revenue was generated versus how busy my schedule was and how much I wanted to play. I guess some things you have to balance out there.
Well, in my opinion,
yes,
this is a money left on the table thing. Always play more often for less money. And I kind of encourage that, because one thing that I will do, this is another power tip, is when I send my contracts or after the gig when I do follow-up, I will send them literally a coupon. It says, had a great time, use this coupon for $50 off on your next show. Must be used in the next 60 days.
Okay.
So now they're going to book me with a coupon. Everybody loves coupons. And even though I'm making less money to go back, because most people are like, I'm going to go back and they're going to pay me more, and I'm going to go back and they're paying me more. Guess what? You get more money the more you're seen, because more people book you and more people buy your products, more people sign up for your mailing list. And if you're making $50 less than you want at every gig, you could always start off by asking for $50 more and going down to the price you really want if you need to. But even though you're getting $50 less than you could have possibly gotten, I think playing there 6 more times a year is going to be way more valuable. That's my opinion.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, you hear a lot of people talking about the devaluation of live music, and I know, I think it's the case in most cities. Like the average live band makes now in the 20 some odd teens is not much different what fans were making in the 80s, you know? And so for you to suggest lowering your price, but overall, I guess you're making more money overall and getting more exposure and getting all the other benefits of being out there. Does I understand it?
Being seen is worth more money than any venue will ever pay you. If you are doing everything right when you're being seen, you know, if you are saying the name of your band clearly and legibly so people understand you are, if you're selling merch, if you are getting people to put your band's bumper stickers on their car, you know, if they're live streaming you, telling their friends, signing up for your mailing list, that's worth more than any gig that any venue is going to pay you one time to go play.
Right.
So play at that venue as often as you can and build up your following, build up your fan base. And eventually you're going to get a lot more money anyway because you're playing there so often and everybody loves you so much and they're bringing all their friends out. All the other bands are only bringing 50 people and you're bringing in 200 people. Who are they going to pay more anyway in the long run?
Right. I'm just going to play devil's advocate a little bit here. Let's distinguish this from, because I think a lot of musicians are sick of hearing people go, oh, I got this gig I'd like you to play. I can't really pay you, but it'd be great exposure. Bands are tired, and I think a lot of artists are tired of playing for the exposure, which is kind of what you're talking about, but I don't think you're saying play for free or...
No, because Bob, they know how much we charge. They paid us the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't walk in there for free, never.
Yeah.
And they paid us my let's say my whatever, $500. We'll just use that as an example. And then when I go back, they're still paying $500 except $50 less. They're paid before $50 is a coupon. It's still $500. If they didn't have that coupon, it would still cost them $500.
Right.
So it's not for free, not for exposure. It's just like if you go into Walmart and they have, you know, a deal where $10 off on this thing. Well, if you didn't have that coupon, would they still give you the $10 off? No. That coupon keeps your value. Right. You are still saying this is how much money we charge, but I've got a coupon.
And you're still getting paid for it. I can see how it would be misconstrued when you said the exposure that you get is worth more than you're being paid or whatever. But you can get paid and get the benefits of exposure at the same time.
Yeah. And a word about exposure. I mean, all exposure is not created equal. There's two problems with exposure. First is there are gigs they tell you that are for exposure and all they really want is more stuff going on at their event and you are not the focal point. Mm-hmm. That is not an exposure job. But if it's a really good exposure job and you actually get in front of people that could be fans and want to give you lots of money for the rest of your life, your 1,000 true fans, but you're not doing all of the things right to encourage them to be 1,000 true fans, then that also isn't worth it either. Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful with that. Let me real quickly, and I want to actually do either a show about this guy or I want to get him on and interview him together. His name is Dan Rodriguez. And I got to just real quickly, I just got to tell you, I just did Summerfest, world's biggest music festival. All right. And there's like 1,000 bands play over 2 weeks. And we're talking from the most famous people in the universe, like Willie Nelson, down to like the guy standing on the corner busking. It's amazing. All right. But I got to tell you what Dan did, and it blew my mind. He actually got hired to play on one of the big stages, but he stayed around for a few extra days because he was traveling anyway and made a deal with one of the side stages where they actually don't pay any money. And he went there and performed every day. I was watching this guy. He's like magic. Every show he walked out there for like probably at least 100 new email signups. And he sold boatloads of CDs in a era where people say you can't buy CDs, and T-shirts and merch. And he had a line after his show. I mean, I couldn't even get to the guy. He's like a friend of mine now. We met him there. We kind of bonded. I couldn't even get to him at the end of the show with this line of people that had merchandise that wanted to autograph and take selfies and pictures. And he played one day and got paid, and then did like 3 or 4 days where he didn't technically get paid. But there was so much money that in his bucket and so much money going through and all those names. That was excellent use of exposure. So exposure, again, it's not created equal. You got to get the right place to be exposed, and then you have to expose yourself properly.
Right. There's a loaded phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a whole show just on that someday, because that guy just really amazed me.
All right, let's book him. We just scratched the surface on this topic. Already we're a half hour in, so I think we probably bring this one to a close. Man, we could just go on and on. I'm sure we'll come back to venues and gigs because you got a ton of you're my Ed McMahon. Yes. Half the listeners are going, Ed McMahon, who in the hell is that?
Yeah, right. Yeah. He was the Star Search guy, right?
Yeah, totally.
That was American Idol in the 70s, right?
or 80s or whatever it was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, Billy, let's bring this one to a close. Hey-o! I just heard Doc Severinsen like turned 92 or something last week. He's still going.
No, really?
Believe it or not, yeah.
Is he still a sharp dresser?
I'm sure he is. So.
We're showing our age here, Bob. We got to get out of here.
Totally. All right, let's wrap this one up. Good stuff, Billy. Thanks for sharing your wisdom. This was fun. We'll be back again with more stuff on the Music Marketing Podcast, right?
Right. Yes.
Yes, you are correct. All right, so long for now. Bye. Woo.
Oh, my.
Breathe.